All right, guys. Welcome back to another episode. Today, we're going to talk about the 80-20 rule. 20% of the work that you do makes up 80% of the results. This is a pretty standard thing that happens a lot, almost in anything, but we'll talk entrepreneurially. I remember when I originally started my own business, it was a medical record company, if you guys might have heard that. And I had this thing where I was like, I've got to be busy. I remember being like, I got to be busy all the time. And I felt like if I wasn't working on the company, that it wasn't going to grow. And to a large degree, it was true. It wasn't going to grow. It's the beginning stages, right? I mean, you don't feed a baby. It's gonna, yeah, it's not going to grow. It's going to die.
Morbid.
Yeah, it's morbid, but it's true. Yeah. Hey, man, there's people in this world that do that stuff, right? It's not. It's definitely not right. But so if you don't feed it, it's not going to grow. But at a certain point, a lot of what you're doing becomes busy work. Something that sticks out in my head a lot, and I know in the stage that we're at that I think about is I was told this some it was years ago. It was someone that just he gave me a lot of different business advice. They were a CEO of a company, and it was in order for your business to grow, you have to get out of its own way as the entrepreneur and the business owner. Now, of course, that resonated more then, and it resonates even more now. But you know, what we end up doing a lot of times is we end up doing things where we're like, oh, well, it's gonna be, I gotta do this, I gotta do that, and it's that mindset like I gotta do this, I've got to do that, and so you end up, thinking you're being productive because you're just doing some shit, but it really isn't necessarily the idea. It could be, I gotta get to my office to hurry up and straighten this up, and then make it feel like this, or but really, I mean, if you just sent out some postcards, that was really all you needed to do that day. You needed to get that prepared and send it out so that you can bring more business in. Or, when you really narrow that down, I've got a friend of mine, a mentor of mine, that he told me this one long time ago, or, some years back. He does three things a day. It's what he sticks to, three things a day. And those three, and he doesn't, and it's not a hard rule. Like if it's not three, he won't, not necessarily won't, he doesn't stop at three, but he just does a little bit less. Now, I'm not saying you need to do less, but I'm saying that, when you step back and you realize, like, okay, there's actually not a whole lot that I'm doing right now that is going to move things forward. Or or I'm doing too many things. And most of these things, 80% of that's not going to move it forward. But, you know, what's going to move things forward? Postcards, letters, advertisement, having the right website, whatever it might be, or setting up a system. Maybe there's a system. As you guys grow in your business, you'll start looking at building out systems and process,
Processes.
processes and stuff. I didn't know that. I hope if you hear this and maybe you're early on in your journey, and again, this could be in a real estate journey. Just we talk business because at the end of the day, that's still what it is. It's a business. But setting up systems and processes, those things will help things grow. But straightening out the desk doesn't do it. Driving around to I don't know, just randomly doing certain, I got to go to Office Depot, doesn't necessarily do it. Where you're like,
Amazon.
yeah, Amazon, little stuff like that, man, makes a difference.
It
I
saves a lot of
saves
time.
a lot of time. Where you instead of mine was always I gotta go drive to Office Depot, and
Or the
you're
bank.
for the or the bank. You know what I mean? Well, maybe there's a better way of doing that that makes it just easier, where people pay you a certain
Save an
way,
hour.
save an hour. So your job is to kind of make things simpler and work on just that 20% of items, because that 20%, and when I say that, like, I think advertising. I had someone ask, about should I do an open house? And my answer to that, like, on the agents, is no. If they want to, it's fine. But I mean, and in the beginning, okay. But there's so many better ways that you can spend time, if that makes any sense. Like, not saying it doesn't work or you can't catch a client, but I mean, if you really stop and
It's
think about it,
more reactive than proactive.
yeah, if you really, it's a 80% item that if you just stop and you say, okay, maybe there's a better way to get in touch with certain individuals, right? Social media, stuff like that. I mean, get in touch with individuals that way you can move forward. Because once you post for 15 minutes, boom, you're done, and then you're on your way, and you got X amount of people looking at it, right? It's advertisement is I look at it like I always looked at it like that. Like in fact, when I first got into business was like advertisement was what can I do? What kind of advertising can I do that can help me be able to stop or be able to do something else, right? So if I did this ad, it's going to run on its
It's going to
own,
work while you're doing something
and
else.
then I'm going to go find another one that I can start, and it's going to run on its own. And I'm going to find another kind of advertisement that's going to work, and I'm going to go let that run on its own. Versus items that were like open houses. See, open house to me is, and I'm not by any means, guys. If you hear this and you're an agent, and you're like, I'm not telling you, screw open houses, never do them. But I mean, I think you need to find on your own what works and what doesn't for you. But I remember, I don't think I've ever told this story. I don't think I've ever told you this story, Misty. But I remember, and this is why open houses stick out to me a certain way. We were, I was helping a mentor of mine. He was teaching me business, and in return, I worked within their company as an independent contractor, and it was prepaid debit cards, and that's what they did. And I remember he's like, hey, we're going to set up a booth at Traders Village. And I would show up at 8 o'clock in the morning, set the booth up. It's, like Saturday and Sunday, I would do that. Hot as fuck on some of those days. And my job was to stand there and talk to people. So, I would try to sell prepaid debit cards. If I think back, I don't think I ever sold one. Now you would look at that and you're like, why? Why would you not sell one? Like, what would be the reason? But in the meantime, though, on the back end, they had other things set up with, other employers, and, they were working with, employers would get their employees. They set up processes and marketing with other employers, and those employers would basically give out enrollment forms to all their employees. Like they didn't have to do all that legwork. So they were guinea pigging with me to try to see what would happen. And surely enough, it didn't last that long, because one, the market I was after, people just walk by there at Traders Village. If you don't know what Traders Village is in Grand Prairie here in Texas. And it's basically a place where,
Like an outdoor flea market type thing.
yeah,
They're too busy walking by eating their turkey leg.
yeah, man. The fruit. In fact, I think I lost money there because they always had the fruit stands, and I'd buy the shit out of the fruit. It was awesome. The fruit was awesome. I actually wanted to go back for the fruit, but I just don't want to go deal with the crowd, so I
Or
never
their
went back.
hands were full from holding the new puppy they just bought.
Yeah, yeah. Or the burned CDs that my homie would get. My buddy Jose would grab. We would go there and get these like burned copy CDs and shit. But that's what they're doing. So they're not interested in signing up for a prepaid debit card and putting all their bank account information right there on the spot with me, right? I'm like 19, 20 years old. I learned a lot from that. But that's when I think of like open
I bet
house.
You stood out there too.
Oh man, I'm white as hell. They're like, dude, who's this white boy? You know what I mean? I'm like, prepaid debit card, and they're like, no comprende? No. It was some Spanish and it was over. I could just keep walking. That's all they had to do.
No habla inglés.
Yeah. No? See? But I mean, so that's, when I hear agents, any of our agents ask me about prepaid or about open houses, my mind goes right back to that.
You're like,
No. Because I had another job where I did direct TV in the mall. My brother had set me up with direct TV. And this all ties to the same subject. He set me up. He's like, look, I'll pay you. And I think I got paid, he said, I'll pay you X dollar an hour. And then whatever you close. I think I probably signed up like 2 people on direct TV. And the rest of it, I ended up watching direct TV. But the point is, people were walking by and they're not in the mode of, I want to sign up for direct TV.
That's not why they're there.
It's not why they're there. I mean, they would stop, and some people would stop and watch the TV.
What you watching?
Yeah, they would. They
Pull up
would.
a seat.
I had some of the shop people around me actually like watch TV with me a couple times. But that's the thing is like I relate open houses to that. Now, obviously, these people are looking at an open house and they're buyers and stuff. Some are buyers, but the time that you're spending.
Some of them are just nosy neighbors.
Nosy neighbors. The time that you're spending doing that is what I think of. I'm like, if I was able to just spend less amount of time in my, sphere of influence and social media. I'm just talking out loud. I could probably end up pulling one person with a lot less time, and that 20%. Now, again, if you're starting out, you're an agent, I mean, that's fine. If you want to get some experience, get some experience. But to me, it sounds like hell. Like I Misty heard me say this before he came to record. I was like, open house sounds like hell. Like it doesn't, because I've been there and I understand what that takes. And if it's not something that's scalable, I don't have interest in that, if that makes any sense to anybody. You're listening to that. Like, I just don't have interest in it if it's not scalable. So, but your advertising stuff can be very scalable in the way you do things, right? Is there something and that's why I say that 80/20, that if there's that 20% that produces all the 80% of the results, then by all means, you need to spend some time on that and not just, whatever that might be. And that's why I make fun of open houses, and I've been through that. I did that a lot. Door to door, I did that too. I did door to door a lot. I got good at that. I got good at door to door stuff, but it, it it took a lot of time. It took a lot of time. And I remember once, when I first started doing, my very first business, I built it from door to door, and all of those, like, time required items. And I think there's nothing wrong with that in the beginning. But I think you start looking and you start saying, okay, so maybe there's, whatever, you start looking at your results, you're like, all right, this is really getting me the most. You probably need to lean into that more.
With the advancement in technology now,
Oh yeah,
there's so many other avenues.
absolutely. Absolutely. And so that 80/20 rule, I think if you stick to it, I think if you stop and you look and you see, okay, there's probably about 3 to 4 things here that actually are really pushing this forward every single day. And that's, I think, where most people make the mistake, is it's that feelingness, the feelingness. Let's say the feelingness. It's the feeling of, I've got to be busy. And I know that feeling where you feel like I have to be busy because it's the only way to feel like you're moving forward. Sometimes you're really not. You're just spinning your wheels if if you don't. So I think that's important. I think it'd be just something to you guys, to think about as you build out your business, whether it's, you're an agent, or whether it's, you're investing, or whatever it might be, or if you have a widgets business, whatever, but you're starting something new, kind of step back and take a look. It took me years to get down. It took me years to get down because I thought I just had to be always doing something. And I still like to always do something, but I kind of step back more and take a moment and actually, what do I, what is it that's producing the most results? So 80/20 rule, guys, stick to it. There's only about three to 4 things. And that's not a hard rule, but say 3 things a day that you have to do that are really going to move things forward.
I think that's important because a lot of people have this laundry list of items that they've got to do. And I know from experience that it feels like you barely get through the list, and every day a ton more is added.
Yeah,
And so sometimes you start on something, you get interrupted, and then you never finish that. And so I think just making it easy to, like, at 3 limit, you make sure those 3 things get done
absolutely.
instead of getting sidetracked.
Yep, absolutely. Well, guys, stick to that 80/20 rule. 3 things only. It'll help you out tremendously when you plan your day out. And we'll catch you guys next time.